As the temps start rising and you feel that familiar urge to refresh your closet, don't waste your money on pieces that you'll only wear once and for just one season. Quince changes that. Their clothes are timeless, lightweight, and far more elevated than anything else at this price. Your wardrobe can finally match your standards. My next trip is a travel conference, and I'm bringing my Comfort Stretch Traveler 5-pocket pants, classier than jeans, but just as comfortable. You can get 100% linen shirts and dresses from $30, Lux swimwear, Italian leather platform sandals, and much more. The best part, everything with Quince is half the cost of similar brands. By working directly with top artisans and cutting out the middlemen, Quince gives you luxury without the markup. And Quince only works with factories that use safe, ethical, and responsible manufacturing practices and premium fabrics and finishes. Give your summer closet an upgrade with Quince. Go to quince.com/traveler for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. That's QUINCE.com/traveler to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/traveler. And thanks to Quince for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
Hey, Kristen, how's it tracking?
With Carvana Value Tracker.
What else?
Oh, it's tracking. In fact, Value Surge Alert trucks up 2.5%. Vans down 1.7%.
Just as predicted.
Mm-hmm.
So, we gonna...
I don't know. Could sell, could hold.
The power to always know our car's worth.
Exhilarating, isn't it?
Tracking.
Always know your car's worth with Carvana Value Tracker.
Amateur Traveler, episode 949. Today, Amateur Traveler talks about fabled beaches and mountain villages, a favorite place for artists and movie stars as we go to the French Riviera. This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler. Let's talk about the French Riviera. I'd like to welcome back to the show Kimberley Lovato from KimberleyLovato.com. And Kimberley has come to talk to us about the French Riviera. Kimberley, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much. It's been a while.
You are now for a time in the French Riviera, which sounds very posh. What is your connection to the French Riviera?
It's funny. People ask, I've been a Francophile my whole life, and I really don't know why, because I'm pretty sure I do not have a drop of French blood in me. But I will credit my high school French teacher for giving me the love of France. And ever since then, I've just been fascinated with the language and traveling here. And about 20 years ago, my husband and I lived in Belgium, Brussels, Belgium, and we decided to escape the dreary weather of rainy Belgium and come to the south of France. And we just really fell in love and said, let's put a little stamp here. Let's put a little pied-à-terre, as they say here. And so we've had our place here for about 20 years now and love it.
Wow. Excellent.
Yes.
Why should someone go to the French Riviera? It feels like a stupid question, but...
It's interesting that you use the word posh. And of course, it absolutely has that element to it. But I think one of the things, and certainly for people who love great hotels and Michelin star food and gorgeous scenery, what's not to love? We have the Cannes Film Festival, in fact, going on right now. And all that is part of the French Riviera for sure. But if you love beaches, hiking, and museums here, I think that's one of the things that makes it very unique is the museums and culture here are pretty unique to an area that's a resort area. There really is to be, I hate the cliche, there's something for everyone, but in this case, it is true. If you like the beaches, like I said, food, hotels, small, quaint, charming, picture-perfect villages. It's all really here. It's a big area, but easy to get around, small in terms of you're not covering all of France. It's all here.
And I think I've said on the show when we were in Zurich, Switzerland, was the one time my wife looked at real estate because she said those were her people, the very organized, very clean. And for me, the only place I could think of doing that was in Nice. Not a big fan of Cannes, not a big fan of that sort of scene, but just for some reason, and Nice is obviously not a place you go for the beach either, but I understand the draw to the French Riviera. I've had it myself.
Actually, Nice, it's funny. Nice is a big city. It's the 5th largest city in France, and the airport there is where you would fly into. But Nice, if you don't mind rocky beaches. Nice is actually very popular for the beach, and people go to the beach clubs. I would say going to the beach is a rite of passage on the French Riviera. Going to a beach club, renting the lounger for the day, and Nice has a lot of beach clubs.
But when you say
Cannes is
rocky beaches, you mean stones. We're not even talking
stones.
sand in
No
Nice.
sand. A few places have sand. Cannes has sand,
Right,
actually,
sure. In the
Saint-Tropez. But
exactly.
yeah, you really do want to go to one of the beach clubs unless you don't mind laying your towel on the rocks, pebbles, which doesn't sound very comfortable.
So what itinerary are you going to recommend for us?
Oh my goodness. This is what I said earlier. It really does depend on what you like
Sure.
to do. So if beaches are your thing, you could hit several towns along the way. You could do something every day. If museums, I personally am always surprised by the great museums on the Riviera and some relatively new ones as well. So honestly, it's a hard question to answer because it really depends on what you like to do.
Why don't we start with a couple beaches and then we'll go to the museums? Because I
Sure.
don't think I know the museum scene of the French Riviera.
Yeah, beaches are everywhere along the Riviera. So if you fly into Nice, you have your beaches, of course, along the Baie des Anges. But I'm going to talk about Cannes just to blow your mind a little bit because it
Okay.
used to not be one of my favorite places on the Riviera either because all I knew of it was the Palais de Festival where the film festivals are and
Sure.
all the hotels along La Croisette that are way too expensive for me. Just if you can do it, great. But off the coast of Cannes are two islands. You can see them from the mainland. You can kayak there. They're that close. And you can take a small boat there as well in 5 minutes. You're there. And the two main islands are there. And they are covered in pine trees and walking paths. There are tons of little rocky coves and beaches. Yes, not sandy beaches, but you can swim off of them. There's an underwater sculpture museum. There's an abbey. There's a museum, a tasting room for the wine and the liqueur made by the monks. So to me, that's one of the surprises of the Riviera that most people think of Cannes as the film festival and posh, but then you have these little places where you can go a little deeper, which makes it nice. And the beauty of Cannes too is that the train station drops you right in Cannes. So
Right.
you really wouldn't need a car to get there, and you could get to these islands and kayak and swim and have this wonderful waterborne day and in the middle of Cannes. And I think that is a surprise to me.
And my French pronunciation aside, these are the Lorrains?
Yeah, the Ile de Lérins. Yeah.
Okay.
Lérins. Yeah, we can get French, but yeah, have you been there then?
No, I didn't know of them, actually.
Yes, they're quite.
I must have seen them because I've stood at the beach of Cannes, but I honestly completely ignorant.
Yes, they are truly eye distance, or seeing. You can spot them. You can rent a kayak from Cannes and kayak out to them. They're that close, and it's wonderful. I take guests there every summer when they come. It's always a surprise for people.
And then any other beach locations before we get to some of the other things?
Oh gosh, I live closer to Saint-Tropez, so I don't live in Saint-Tropez, but we live in a little village called Sainte-Maxime, and the beaches along here on this coastline from Sainte-Maxime to Saint-Tropez. So I'm west of Cannes, heading towards Saint-Tropez, and it's all sand, so beautiful sandy beaches. So Sainte-Maxime has lovely beaches. They have some beach clubs, but it's not quite as high end as Saint-Tropez, very family friendly. There's lots of public stretches of sand, like right outside my apartment. I can just walk out and throw down my towel and an umbrella and sit there all day. So I love Sainte-Maxime, and Saint-Tropez is a lot of fun if you just want to experience. But I might be getting a little too old for the scene, but along Pampelonne, which is actually in Ramatuelle, made famous by Brigitte Bardot all those years ago. That's where you're going to get the livelier dancing on the tables and lots of rosé, but beautiful beach clubs, a lot of them owned by hotels also, but a lot of public beaches along Pampelonne as well. And you don't have to go to one of the beach clubs, and it's all sand, and the bay, the Pampelonne Bay, is beautiful water, warm water, turquoise water too.
And when we say the beach clubs, just so people are aware of what we're talking about, this isn't a club that you have to join. Usually you can just go up and pay a day fee, but basically many of the beaches in France are not public beaches where you just throw down your towel there. You have to rent a chaise lounge or two and a umbrella.
That's right. Yeah, when I say beach club, that's what I mean.
Hmm.
Usually you reserve, especially in the busy time, you
Sure.
reserve your chaise lounge and your umbrella, and it can be costly. It's, I'd say minimum 25 to 30 euros a day, and it can go up to ridiculous 50, 60, 70 euros a day for some
Hmm.
of the beach clubs, for example, in Saint-Tropez. But you get them for the day. You can go eat lunch somewhere and come back. They're yours for the day. So it's a spend for sure. It's a
Yeah.
splurge. So it's something I might do if I were never going to come back, or I just was entertaining someone for the weekend. And it
Sure.
is nice to have that pampered feeling. But actually, there are lots of stretches of sand, even in those busy resort areas, that are reserved for public, and the public can
Yep.
go and just lay down. And often there's lots of little restaurants or bars or snack shops around there too, where you could grab a bite to eat if you wanted. You can
Versus
have the
the
experience.
the beach club where I may actually have waiter service out at my chaise.
Exactly. You can order, yeah, to the table, to your beach chair, or you can go.
Yeah.
Usually they have a restaurant as well.
Okay. So that being beaches, you say there's more to it than just beaches. So what else would you recommend for someone who is either done with the beach for the day or not even a beach person at all?
Yeah, if you're not a beach person, you can still come to the French Riviera. I'm going to mention the museums just quickly if you love
Yep.
them. Nice, you have the Chagall Museum and the Matisse Museum in Nice. Their Museum of Modern Art in Nice is incredible, right in the center of town. Nearby in Antibes is a very popular destination for people along the Riviera, also accessible by the train, and it has the Picasso Museum right on the water in this old rocky palace, which is beautiful. And then in Saint Paul de Vence, there's a modern art. The Macht Foundation is a modern art foundation right outside the village of Saint Paul de Vence, which is also lovely to walk around. The burial place of Marc Chagall, actually. And one of my favorite villages along the French Riviera is Mougins.
This one I don't
Is
know.
Yeah, it's a small village, so it's where Picasso lived the last 12 years of his life, actually. And because of that, it drew a lot of artists. So you can still wander around this village. I believe it's inland from Cannes, I believe. I'm going to have to look up exactly where it is. Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head, but a very sweet hillside village, not on the coast. So you would probably have to take a taxi. You could probably take a bus or rent a car, but it's tons of galleries, open artist studios, public art everywhere, and beautiful cafes. And it's beautiful, tiny little cobblestone village, and it's really art centric. So that's again one of those other little surprises I love to tell people about. And it's on halfway between my house and the airport. So often I stop there on the way to pick up a friend or bring a friend to lunch on the way back, and I take them to Mougins because it's only about 15 minutes off the highway, and it's great. It's a great surprise. And there's places like that all over the
Hmm.
French Riviera, little galleries, little museums. Actually, Mougins, speaking of Mougins, they just opened a museum in 2024 completely dedicated to female artists around the world. So they have about 80 to 100 works dedicated to female artists from around the world. And that just opened in 2024 in Mougins. So
And that's
it's
the
a little,
FAM
yeah,
Museum?
FAMM.
Okay.
Yes, even though, yeah, it's small, but it has tons of sculptures, paintings,
Interesting.
photos, and yeah, and it's in this small, really quaint little village, about 4 miles from Cannes, actually, inland, now that I think about it, because Cannes is about halfway for me.
You mentioned the little villages. We haven't talked about the topography, but you get a lot of little coves and small bays and such in this area. And so you get the little village there that has this little small bay, and then, another mile on, there's another one. So that's one of the reasons why you end up, I think, with a lot of those small villages and interesting and picturesque places.
Yes, for sure. And the topography is true because it is worth noting because you're backed by the Alps, Maritime Alps, and then
Hmm.
beyond that, the Alps. So you do have this incredible backdrop of the mountains. You quickly climb into elevation if you want. And
Right.
then some of the coastline, as we know from the beaches, it can be very rocky, which gives it this charm. It's not just a stretch of sand, which is beautiful, of course. We
Hmm.
all love that. But yeah, you have these rocky coves and cliffs, red cliffs, like between Cannes and San Rafael is an area called the Estoril. And it's really known because the cliffs and the dirt are red, and then it
Hmm.
tumbles steeply into the blue Mediterranean Sea, and it looks completely different than Cannes or San Rafael on the other side, and it separates the two, and it's beautiful. And there are tons of coves in there that I've tried to climb down to a few of them. It's a little difficult with a child, but now I
Yeah.
could probably do it. Or you could
I
boat
think your
in,
child could probably do it now. She's old
Yeah,
enough.
now she's a little older now. I don't have to drag her on my back.
Out of college. And the one thing you say, because there is that very quickly when you leave the shore, you get the mountains, the train track runs through all these little tiny towns, and it is easy to get to all of these places, or most of these places that are along the coast, by train, including Monaco.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Yeah. Train is very popular method of travel in Europe,
Right.
but that is something worth noting too. It's certainly you could rent a car here. And because I'm here a long time and entertain a lot of people, I do rent a car when I'm here, but we also take this train. Like you said, it really does stop it stops in the center of Monaco. It stops in the center of Cannes. In Nice has 3 train stations. It goes to sweet villages like Villefranche-sur-Mer, which on the train, it's less than 10 minutes from the center of Nice. And it's this beautiful, colorful village between Monaco and Nice, Villefranche-sur-Mer. And it's built on a hill, and these little colorful houses go down to the sea. And it's a lovely place and easy to get around. And it goes all the way to Menton, which is on the Italian border, and a very beautiful little city right by the Italian border, and known for its lemons, but also great places to eat, and also, unfortunately, rocky beaches as well, but beaches nonetheless.
Right.
And yeah, so it's a great way to get around, and it's relatively inexpensive, and it's about picking a time and where you want to go, and then everything's walking distance from most coastal cities. If you want to go inland, then it's a little bit more of a challenge.
That's why I was saying along the coast. Exactly. I don't know this area like you do. I've spent just a part of a week there, but you mentioned one of my favorite towns, which is Antibes. But one of the things I like there, for instance, as a history buff, there's the Fort La Carré. And one of the reasons for that is this used to be the French border. Nice didn't used to be France. Nice used to be part of the Savoy until, what is it, the
or the
1700s,
Dominion of
1800s.
Savoy. I know that. And I always forget that Nice really came back into France, maybe mid 1800s, late 1800s. Oh, 1860. I just looked it up.
Okay.
So that's really not that long ago,
Right.
which just makes Nice very special because it has a very Italian slant to it.
Yeah, there was no Italy yet at that point, but there were Italian-speaking places, and Nice was on the border there with France, but part of a whole different country at the time.
Yes.
Excellent. Well, that's some of the museums. What else should people do in terms of sightseeing? You're in the French Riviera. Your 3 favorite mountain villages, for instance, are?
Oh, if I were going to pick mountain villages, I would definitely pick Ez. So
Sure.
Ez,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Not undiscovered.
Not undiscovered, but certainly if you've never been, worth lugging yourself up there for sure. It's a hike. It's a hike. Even once you get to the bottom of the village, you're walking up just for its position. And once you get to the top, the gardens at the top, for example, I don't think there is a better view of the French Riviera anywhere.
So this is an old medieval village, mountaintop, but a mountain right on the coast.
It's pretty much right on the coast. It's surrounded by water. You drive. Yeah, it's right there on the coast, basically. It's seaside. I would say it's seaside, even though it's about 400 meters up. But beautiful. Yeah, and it can get crowded, of course, in the summer, like everywhere, but worth visiting. Another village I mentioned Mougins, which I really think people will like. And then there's the village of Biot, Biot. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No.
I think it's inland from Antibes. So it's about 15 to 20 minutes inland from Antibes. And it's not necessarily a perched hilltop village, but what it's known for is its glass blowing history.
Oh.
And yes, you can still visit glass blowing studios there. They're known for what's called bubble glass. As it sounds like, there's bubbles. Their techniques puts bubbles into the glass, so you get this sort of speckled glassware. And it's a darling little village for shopping or grabbing lunch. They have these glass blowing galleries and demonstrations. So that's always a nice surprise for people if they want to just do something off the coast. And like I said, it's probably about 20 minutes inland from Antibes.
Okay.
You know what doesn't belong in your epic summer plans? Getting burned by your old wireless bill. While you're planning beach trips, barbecues, and 3-day weekends, your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. With plans that start at $15 a month, Mint Mobile gives you premium wireless service on the nation's largest 5G network. The coverage and speed, and sometimes the exact same towers that you're used to, but way less money. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling, literally and financially. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. In my experience, switching was easy. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get your summer savings and shop premium wireless plans at mintmobile.com/traveler. That's mintmobile.com/traveler. Upfront payment of $45 for a 3-month 5 GB plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. And thanks to Mint Mobile for sponsoring this episode of Amateur Traveler.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Speaking of museums, I forgot to mention there's also this French artist, Fernand Léger. I don't know if you know him. I didn't really know him until I visited the museum.
No.
But there's a museum dedicated to him there as well. That if you're an artist who likes contemporary art, I suppose that would be interesting as well.
Okay.
But I've always known Biot for the glass blowing. Yeah, so those are some of the villages that I like to go in. And near where I am, there's a lot. The village of Lorgues, it's going to be a little bit further away from Nice. It's inland from me by about 45 minutes. So it's quite interior, but it's known for a very famous truffle restaurant is there, but it has a great market. There are a lot of great markets people should visit along the French Riviera, like Provence, if they like to visit markets and see what food and produce are growing and do that kind of very French thing. The French Riviera has no shortage of markets to visit, and Lorgues, the village of Lorgues, Lorgues, has a great market, great weekly market for that. So lots. You could just throw a dart at a map and find a village to check out around here that's not on the coast. There are quite a few.
And what else would we recommend we see while we're here?
Some of the other things, I think I mentioned the gardens at the top of Ez are worth seeing, but then I don't know if you visited some of the villas that are open to the public. One in particular that stands out, also close to Nice, is the Villa Euphrasie de Rothschilds.
Oh, okay.
It's in Beaulieu-sur-Mer, and it's very easy to take a bus there from Nice. What's spectacular about it are the gardens. So they have 9 separately themed gardens that surround this pink villa.
Yes.
So and it's quite worth a day if you like that kind of thing. Again, just to get you off the beach. So it's between Nice and Monaco, very beautiful, surrounded by the oceans on both sides. It's on a start at the Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat Peninsula. So you get a very nice view as you're walking around the gardens. And there's another villa. I used to call it just the Greek villa, but apparently it has a name. And it's called Villa Kerylos, and that's the one that's in Beaulieu-sur-Mer. I'm sorry, Villa Euphrasie is Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat. And it's also just beautiful gardens with olive trees and pomegranate trees. And then inside, there's also a collection of sculptures and mosaics and frescoes. So right on the coast as well. And you can actually walk from there to Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat, which also has nice little quiet little beaches all around the peninsula there as well.
And you were saying that's a peninsula just to the east of Nice.
East of Nice,
Little bay in between where Villefranche-sur-Mer is.
Exactly. And then, and you'll have, I mentioned Ez, climbing to the top of Ez, you have this spectacular view of most of the Riviera, but also Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat. You can really see it's extended out into the sea, and it's quite a view. And Saint-Jean-Cap-Ferrat is quite posh, but there is the village of Saint-Jean there, and you can walk from there to Villa Kerilos, the Greek villa, as I call it. And there's lots of nice walks around there, actually, and a very swanky Four Seasons, I believe, at the end, but lots of other smaller little places in town to lunch or stay as well.
Okay.
And what else can I tell you, Chris, about the French Riviera? There's so much. Hiking is another thing. You can be a serious hiker or you can just be a day stroller, and you can find all along the French Riviera, there's a path called the Sentier Littoral, which is literally the coastal path, but it was actually designed a long time ago so that customs workers could walk the coast, but now most of it's all open to the public, and they're everywhere. So often you'll see signs in villages that say Sentier Littoral, and it could be just a little wooden sign pointing you the way, and there'll be a little footpath. Sometimes they're a little less marked than others. Sometimes they're a little rougher than others, but wear good shoes. But they really take you through some unseen places sometimes. In particular, I love one that goes from Roquebrune, Cap Martin, which is on the other side of Monaco towards the Italian border. And you can walk from there to Menton along the coast. And it's pretty quiet and pretty beautiful. And it's about 3.5 miles one way. So it's cool. You can walk through these private, quiet little beaches and incredible scenery right along the coast.
Got it. And we're almost at the Italian border at that point.
And you're almost to the Italian border at that point from Menton. I think you still have a mile or so from Menton to the Italian border, but could walk it up. Yeah, really from the French Riviera, you can breakfast in France, lunch in Monaco, dinner in Italy.
And Menton itself, I have not been there, but it looks quite lovely.
It is very lovely.
Almost a Cinque Terre look to it with the multicolored buildings.
Yeah, it does have that look to it. You're right. And Villefranche has a little bit of that look to me as well.
So festivals. Obviously, we've talked about the Cannes Film Festival. First off, pro or con to Cannes? Should I go during there to see the celebrities, or should I avoid the region during that time?
Yeah, this is a tough one, Chris. I think to enjoy the Riviera, you want the nice weather, you want the outdoor terraces, you want to be able to sit on the beach and not freeze, but it gets crowded in the summer. The Cannes Film Festival is going on right now. I've never been to the festival because I'm not in the industry. I'm not even sure how possible it would be to get into town. Could you even see the celebrities? If someone wants to, I think they would have to figure out how to do that or be associated with some kind of organization that was a part of the festival. However, you can still go to Cannes and see the Palais de Festival. You can walk the red carpet. You can snap your Instagram photos on the actual red carpet. Any other time of year. So you don't necessarily have to be there during the film festival unless you are part of the industry. It's just, Cannes is just one of those cities that's 1 or 2 lanes in and out, lots of roundabouts, parking's a pain. So you're going to be dealing with traffic. And that's one of the downsides of the Riviera in the summer is traffic. I mean, it's one of the reasons I come now. I can drive anywhere right now if I wanted and park right in front of wherever I wanted. But come mid-June to about mid-September, it gets pretty brutal.
Mid-June, if I was going to go there, I would take the train.
If you were going to go there, you would take the train. Yes, that would be the best way to go, I would recommend. And some of the buses connect really well too. From the Nice airport, you can get to Antibes, Cannes, San Rafael on the bus. You can easily go the other way to Monte Carlo, Menton on the bus, but the trains are really a great way to go. It's fast. It's relatively inexpensive.
So you're recommending this time of year, and we're recording this in May. So pre-summer, are there other times of year that you really like the region?
I have to say September is my favorite month here. I
Okay.
think if I can say that I don't think it's a secret season, but it's my secret love
Yeah, yeah.
season with the Riviera because it was my anniversary in September and we spent September here last year and it was still so lovely and warm that you could lay on the beach and have the doors open all day and
hmm
people are gone. It cools down at night, so you can sleep with your windows open, and there's still a lot going on. One thing I love here in the Gulf of Saint-Tropez, where I live near, is that proper English, is one of the biggest regattas, the sailing regatta, and it's old boats, new boats, and it's hundreds of boats that just sail in the bay here, and it takes place at the end of September. So you get still this lively crowd of great sportsmen and fans and this beautiful old classic boats and new racing boats in the water, and it's fantastic. And it's at the end of September. Most hotels will still stay open. The ones that close seasonally might close a little before. But yeah, it's a great time to be here. September, all along the Riviera, not just where I am.
Okay. And you mentioned regattas, and we talked about getting out on a kayak. Are there other things we're right on the water here in terms of going out on the water? Are the things you would recommend?
A couple of things. So there's a company called Bateau Vert,
Okay.
Verts. Bateau is plural.
Yep.
So with the X at the end. It's based in Saint-Tropez, and I use it to get to Saint-Tropez in the summer if I want to go because the traffic is just unbearable. So I can go from Sainte-Maxime to Saint-Tropez in 12 minutes and not have to worry about traffic at all. It runs on time, no headache, and it's a beautiful view. But Bateau Vert also does excursions to these other islands a little bit closer to Toulon. So like
Okay.
Ile de Porquerolles, which is just beautiful, no car island. Beautiful,
Oh,
talk
the
about beautiful
green boats, Bateau Vert. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so there's some wonderful excursions for people too to
Okay.
take that are a surprise. Might be a great excursion to get off the mainland and check out some of the islands.
Okay.
And then lately, we've been using a company called Click and Boat. And it's truly like renting a car for a day, except it's app-based and you rent a boat for a day and you can bring a captain with you and you can bring your own food and drinks and you can spend as little or as much as you want on the boat. It could be a tiny boat for 2 or it could be a big boat for 10. And it's a really great hassle-free way to explore any part of the Riviera you want. I'm sure they have them in Antibes. We've done it from Sainte-Maxime to take us around to some of the other
Okay.
coastline, and it's fabulous.
And is this like a Airbnb for boats where it's somebody's personal boat they're not using, or?
I believe it's someone's personal boat
Okay.
or the captain's who's using it, and they put their boat online and they must get some part of the cost of it.
Hmm.
But I don't think they let you take the boat alone, that you would go with their captain. And
Got it.
yeah, it's great. They know the waters better. They know where
I would
they
probably prefer to get it with a captain. So
Exactly. So you can have a couple glasses of rosé too.
there you go.
The elixir of choice on the French Riviera.
What else would you recommend for going to the French Riviera?
Oh my gosh. I think everyone loves to eat. So if you are renting an Airbnb or even staying in a hotel, it's worth going to the market. The best thing about the French Riviera, I'd say, is the summer produce and food. But there are some specialties of the French Riviera that it might be worth trying. And maybe you've tried some of them when you were in Nice. Of course, fresh seafood is
Sure.
a must while you're here. But then there are specialties like it's called pissaladière. And it's a traditional niçoise tart made with caramelized onions, anchovies, black olives, and it's baked. It's kind of like a pizza, but it's very specific to Provence, but especially Nice.
Okay.
There's a kind of a chickpea pancake, they call it. I don't really think it's flat and round, so I guess that's why they call it a pancake, but it's crispy and it's called soca, and that's very popular street food in Nice. Yeah, and they will sell that often at the market on Cours Soleil, the market. So there's someone with a big pan, big round, almost looks like a cast iron pan, and they make the soca there, and then they slice it and hand that to people. And Niçoise salad, I would say, is probably the most well-known thing that's made
Sure.
its way across the pond to people, but that's popular.
We should say what that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Niçoise salad. It's a salad, but it has tomatoes, green beans, hard-boiled eggs, anchovies, or tuna, one or the
Yep.
other, usually tuna, olives, sometimes potatoes. And then, yeah, it's a very popular salad in Nice. It's a meal. And then you should definitely absolutely try gelato when you're in Nice. Like I said, it has a very Italian bent, but there's a very popular gelato place in Nice called Finocchio, which, not Pinocchio, but Finocchio with an F.
Oh, okay.
And you'll always find a lineup for gelato there. I don't know what made it so popular, but you can't go to Nice without having it. So, and then, bouillabaisse. Everyone knows what bouillabaisse is. It's a really thick, rich fish stew from Marseille, but you can find that all along the Riviera, and that's quite popular as well.
Okay.
So those are some fun things to try, and I highly recommend definitely heading to some of the markets. Saint-Tropez has a great market. Monaco actually has a daily market. Part of it's covered, part of it's not. And if you go in the covered part, it's called the Condamine Market. And if you go in the covered part, it's almost like a food hall. And you can sit up at a stool and eat fresh pasta or different specialties, fresh fish they have in there. They have lots of little places to eat inside there, which is nice to get out of the sun or just try some local food. I highly recommend people, even for little restaurants and big restaurants, that if you come at peak time, you book a table. French restaurants love a reservation. But off season, you could walk into many places and that's okay. But during the summer, I definitely recommend it. We even book in our town for places we really want to get into during the summer.
Anything else we want to say before we get to some of our wrap-up questions?
Oh, gosh. Offhand, I can't think of anything, but if you have any specific questions, I'm certainly happy to answer them.
I think I'm out of specific questions. So. Excellent. We'll get to our wrap-up questions. You're standing in the prettiest spot in the whole French Riviera. Where are you standing and what are you looking at?
Oh gosh, I think I already mentioned it. It's at the top of Ez Village, the village of Ez, and it's really just spectacular because of the vast, truly 180-degree view along the coast. You can see on a clear day the Italian Riviera all the way to the Saint-Tropez Peninsula. It's that vast. So it's beautiful for that reason. And then I think I'm standing, like you mentioned, Menton as such a beautiful village. I think I'm standing in the center of Menton or on the edge of the sea looking up at the village. It climbs the hillside and it's beautiful. It's a painting.
It is. I was unaware of this village, but now I've got to go there when I'm back in the area. Excellent. One thing that makes you laugh and say only in the French Riviera.
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. I'm laughing because I can't think of only in the French Riviera. I guess it would have to be the copious amounts of rosé that people drink all day. Truly, rosé all day has to be a phrase started here, because it is something that's poured from 10 in the morning until 10 at night, and people drink it every meal with ice out of the bottle. It's poured from gigantic jeroboams. It's a party. So I guess that it makes me smile that it's just a way of life here.
That's funny. And if you had to summarize the French Riviera in just 3 words, what 3 words would you pick?
Oh, goodness. The pressure. Surprising.
Okay.
Fabled.
Yes.
And gosh, I don't know. Beautiful is such an ugly, trite word, but it is beautiful.
There's a reason
those are very boring
why
words.
why the region has been popular for so many years. And
that's true. And popular with movie makers and travelers and real life royals and Hollywood royals, and just basic lovers of France like me.
Excellent. And Kimberly, I know your website is more your portfolio site as a travel writer. Do you have any articles on the French Riviera we should send people to?
Yeah, like anything I've written is all there. And I've written about the French Riviera for a lot of publications. So yeah, it's just about scrolling through on there or doing a search on there, and
Do you
they'll
have
come
a
up.
favorite article we should send people to? And I'll link it to the show notes.
Gosh, one of my favorites was, it was so long ago, but it was for Virtuoso magazine, and they let me break up the French Riviera in different regions. I have to look at the title to let you know.
Send me a link to that, and we'll
I
put it
sure
in the show
will.
notes.
And it's old, so things might not be as accurate, but I really liked
Mhm.
the breakdown of it because, like we've talked about, the area is so diverse, and
Right.
I guess that would be another word I should have used, diverse. The area is so diverse, and depending on what you like to do, what your passions are, there is somewhere to direct someone, and they could have a great time here for a week.
Excellent. Yeah, it's both geographically diverse, just topologically, but also, as we talked about, the border there between Italy and France has moved back and forth with the whole country appearing and disappearing at times. So that
Yes,
has
that's
led
true.
to some differences in the area as well. And Monaco, which we mentioned, is still there as a whole separate country with its own
That's
history.
right. Still there, and a lovely place to visit as well. Easy to get around on their electrical buses, and it's also a great place to go with beautiful gardens and an old town and a palace and all the things you imagine, and a casino and all the things you imagine
And
Monaco
super
to have.
yachts and
Super yachts and lots of Italian sports cars.
Exactly. Kimberly, thank you for coming on Amateur Traveler and sharing with us your obvious love for the French Riviera.
Oh, thanks, Chris. It was great to catch up, and I hope to talk to you soon.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by The Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Special thanks to the patrons of this show who help support Amateur Traveler financially. If you're interested in learning more about becoming a patron of the show or what you would get by doing so, go to patreon.com/amateurtraveler. New on the Amateur Traveler blog since the last episode came out is probably absolutely nothing, but I don't know because I'm recording this episode ahead because I'm about to head down the Grand Canyon on a raft. So I'm going to be completely cut off from cell signal and my laptop for about a week. So stay tuned and you'll hear more about that trip. Speaking of trips, if you want to come with me on a trip and you want to go to Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan in 2029, go to amateurtraveler.com/trips to learn more about that trip. I hope you can make it. I think it should be a really terrific trip. And with that, we're going to end this episode of Amateur Traveler. If you have any questions, send an email to chris2x@gmail.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at amateurtraveler.com. And thanks so much for listening.